You wake up at 3 in the morning because you rolled over wrong and your knee feels like somebody jammed a railroad spike straight through the joint. You limp to the bathroom, pop 2 more of those gel caps the doctor swore would help, and you know deep down they are not doing a single thing except lightening your wallet. You have already been to 3 different specialists. You have sat in waiting rooms flipping through magazines from 2 years ago. You have paid co-pays that could fund a weekend vacation. And what did you get for all that time and money? A cortisone shot that cost $300, hurt like the dickens, and only worked for about 6 weeks before your knee went right back to screaming every time you climbed the stairs. Meanwhile, back in 1905, an old country doctor in rural Kentucky was treating the exact same joint pain with something that was already sitting in his patient's kitchen. No prescription pad, no insurance forms, no waiting 3 months for an appointment with a specialist who spends 4 minutes with you and then rushes off to the next room. This doctor had one ingredient, dirt cheap, that he used over and over again with results so good that folks would travel 20 miles on horseback just to get his advice. Now, before I tell you what that ultimate ingredient was, I need to walk you through the country doctor's full joint pain protocol, because he never just relied on one thing by itself. He understood that lasting relief came from treating the whole problem, not just numbing the surface. So let me take you back to that drafty little clinic with the wood stove in the corner and the smell of camphor in the air, and show you exactly how he healed joints that modern medicine has given up on. The first thing the old country doctor did when someone limped into his office complaining about joint pain was reach for the apple cider vinegar. Now I know what you are thinking, because I thought the same thing the first time I heard this. Vinegar, the stuff I use to clean my coffee pot. But here is what those doctors understood that we have completely forgotten. Joints get stiff and painful when uric acid and calcium deposits start building up in the tissue, kind of like how hard water leaves that white crust on your faucet. Vinegar is acidic, and when you apply it to the skin over and over again, it works like a gentle solvent, breaking down those crusty deposits and letting the joint move freely again. The country doctor would soak a clean rag in raw apple cider vinegar, wrap it around the sore knee or elbow, and leave it there for 30 minutes while the patient sat by the fire. He did this twice a day for a week. And folks started feeling better, not because of some placebo effect, but because the vinegar was actually dissolving the garbage that had built up inside the joint. The pioneers used this same trick on their plow horses when the animals went lame. But the country doctor knew that vinegar alone was not quite enough for the really stubborn cases, the kind of pain that had been going on for years and had people walking with a cane. That is where his second remedy came into play, and this one will surprise you even more. He used plain old Epsom salt, but not the way we use it today. We toss a cup of it into a warm bath and call it a day, but the country doctor turned it into a paste. He would take a handful of Epsom salt, add just enough warm water to make it thick like wet sand, and then he would pack that paste directly onto the painful joint. He covered it with a strip of flannel cloth to hold it in place, and he told the patient to leave it on for at least an hour, sometimes overnight. Now, here is the magic. Epsom salt is loaded with magnesium, and magnesium is one of the most powerful natural muscle relaxers on the planet. When you pack it onto the skin like that, the magnesium soaks right through and gets into the inflamed tissue around the joint. It calms down the muscle spasms, it reduces the swelling, and it gives the whole area a chance to heal instead of staying locked up tight like a clenched fist. I tried this myself last winter when my shoulder started acting up so bad I could not lift my arm above my head. Now we are getting closer to the big secret, but the country doctor had one more step in his protocol, and this one was all about heat. Not the kind of heat you get from a heating pad that shuts off after 20 minutes, but deep, penetrating, old-fashioned heat that stayed with you for hours. He used something called a flaxseed poultice, and it was so effective that midwives used the exact same thing to treat breast inflammation and chest colds. Here is how he made it. He would take a cup of whole flax seeds, pour them into a pot with just enough water to cover them, and then he would simmer that mixture on the stove until it turned into a thick, gooey paste. While it was still warm but not hot enough to burn, he would spread that paste onto a piece of muslin cloth, fold it over, and press it directly onto the sore joint. Then he wrapped the whole thing in a wool scarf to trap the heat. The flax seeds release their natural oils, which are packed with omega-3 fatty acids, the same stuff that reduces inflammation when you eat fish or take those fish oil pills that stay on you for hours. But when you apply it directly to the skin, it works 10 times faster because it is going straight to the source. That heat also increased blood flow to the joint, which brought in fresh oxygen and nutrients and carried away all the metabolic waste that was making the pain worse. But here is where it gets really interesting. And this is the fourth piece of the country doctor's protocol. He did not just treat the outside of the joint. He treated the inside too. And he did it with something that grows wild in every ditch and hedgerow across this country: dandelion root. Now, before you roll your eyes and think I have gone off the deep end, let me explain what this humble little weed does. Dandelion root is one of the most powerful natural diuretics ever discovered. That means it makes you urinate more. And when you urinate more, your body flushes out excess uric acid, which is one of the main culprits behind joint pain and gout. The country doctor would dig up dandelion roots in the fall when they were at their most potent, scrub them clean, chop them up, and then roast them in the oven until they turned dark and fragrant. He would brew those roasted roots into a strong tea, and he would tell his patients to drink 1 cup every morning before breakfast. And now, here it is. The fifth and final piece of the country doctor's joint pain protocol. The one ingredient that ties everything together and delivers relief so powerful that it puts those $300 cortisone shots to shame. Are you ready? It is plain old blackstrap molasses. I know that sounds crazy. I know you are probably thinking, is not that just the cheap sweetener my grandmother used in her baking? But here is what makes blackstrap molasses an absolute miracle for joint pain. It is absolutely loaded with minerals, especially calcium, magnesium, and potassium, which are the exact building blocks your body needs to repair damaged cartilage and bone. But more importantly, it is packed with something called manganese, and manganese is critical for producing the enzymes that rebuild connective tissue in your joints. When your body does not have enough manganese, your joints literally cannot heal themselves, no matter how much rest you get or how many pills you take. The old country doctors figured this out long before anyone knew what manganese was. They just noticed that patients who took a tablespoon of blackstrap molasses every day in a cup of warm water started getting better. And they kept getting better month after month until the pain was just a memory. There are written accounts from the early 1900s of people who had been crippled with arthritis for years, who could barely get out of bed, and after 6 months of daily blackstrap molasses, they were back to doing farm work and living normal lives again. The difference between this and a cortisone shot is night and day. Cortisone just numbs the pain temporarily and actually weakens the joint over time if you keep getting the shots. Blackstrap molasses rebuilds the joint from the inside out. Now let me tell you how the country doctor used it, because timing mattered. He told his patients to take 1 tablespoon of blackstrap molasses in a cup of warm water first thing in the morning on an empty stomach. The warm water helped the molasses dissolve and made it easier for the body to absorb all those minerals right away. He also told them to keep taking it every single day, not just until the pain went away, but for at least 3 months, because that is how long it takes for your body to rebuild damaged tissue. This was not a quick fix. This was a real fix. And the results were so consistent that word spread from town to town, and pretty soon every country doctor in America had a jar of blackstrap molasses sitting on the shelf next to the iodine and the castor oil. I tried this myself after I spent a small fortune on supplements that did absolutely nothing. I started taking a tablespoon of blackstrap molasses every morning in my coffee, and I kept up with the Epsom salt paste at night. Within 2 weeks, the stiffness in my hands was gone. Within a month, I could kneel down in the garden and stand back up without grabbing onto something for support. And I have kept it up ever since, because why would I stop something that actually works and costs less than a fancy coffee? The country doctor knew that the human body is an incredible machine that can heal itself if you just give it the right fuel and get out of the way. He did not need a medical degree from some fancy university.